We're on a side hill, a long line on a side hill. We got some rain late last night, about a 1/4 inch, which makes the ground sticky. I know Gilbert Moreno mentioned the other day that, you know, to prevent your curve from sliding on a hill or sideways, you know, wet the ground, which in this case it's going to help. Obviously it won't slide on us that easy, but in another sense, you get the ground wet like that, then everything sticks to everything. I got mud all over my shoes, wheelbarrow, you know. It's not like, you see the angle that I'm at. I guess the point I'm trying to make is, I mean, you can have all the techniques, and, you know, when you do a side hill, this is what you need to do, but in certain situations, I mean, things change every single day. Obviously side hill with tackiness on the ground works great, you know, so it doesn't slide, but again, it offers, you know, some different challenges with mud in your trowel and certain things. Now, even with this tackiness, you notice that I'm lifting the machine up and having a bunch of excess, doing that on purpose, basically so I can get more meat on the ground. It's going to be heavier, it's going to have less chance to slide down the hill. And even with that, I have a couple horizontal cracks here where it started to want to go. To maintain a long line directly sideways into the hill is really, really difficult. The best analogy I can give you is, for those of you that are in the north and you know, you have kids and you're in the winter time and you're on a hill with a sled, and you have your kid in the sled and you face that sled sideways into the hill. Okay, the back of the sled or the front of the sled is going to start going downhill. Okay, that's the front of your curb machine. If you drive or pull the sled sideways into the hill, the back of that sled is going to start going down. Okay, it's just gravity. But if you do a long curve going downhill, the back of that sled will follow you as you go around the curve. So in this sense, it started sliding downhill on me. So what I did is I turned my tires just a little bit downhill. Now the front of the machine is going to follow me going downhill. I'm still going to make that nice curve, but it might not be as high as I originally wanted to. I'm going to have to start going downhill to kind of compensate for it taking me downhill. Okay, so once I start going down, I'll go back down to that orange line right there, then I can start coming up. Because if I turn my wheels into the hill and start coming up, the back end of the machine will eventually start to follow and not slide if you do it correctly. Again, you notice how much I'm dumping out here. You know, a particular job like this, if I was bidding this through the homeowner, so just doing an estimate for the homeowner, and they wanted me to do this up here, you know, after they had it prepped and whatever, I would probably charge more to do this, because look how much you have to waste to make sure that stays on the ground without sliding. So you might want to charge an extra 50 cents a foot, whatever. Now this is for a landscaper. Because I know I can do it, I don't charge anymore for this. You know, it's kind of the same thing. If they say, well, you're going to charge more for that, then, you know, what about all the areas that are perfectly flat, long flowing lines, hardly any stops and starts? Do you charge less for that? No. So it's kind of a give and take with my guys that I work with. If it's really something that's in question, you know, I tell them to make sure you call me. Really steep hills, things like that, and I'll tell them if I can or can't do it. And you just got to be brutally honest. Hey, I can't do that, and it's not because I don't have the, you know, talent or the knowledge. There's certain situations where a curb machine is not going to be able to get in there. It's got certain limitations and things like that. So you got to be brutally honest with some of these guys, because they think, you know, you can work magic when sometimes you just can't. Another thing I want to mention on this is, when you're talking to the homeowner, and this is just my suggestion, when you're talking to the homeowner or the landscaper and they show you what they want done here, okay, explain to them, if they don't already know, how curb machine works and what you have to do to keep that curb machine going sideways along a hill. Lines that they have painted might not be where the curb goes, and just explain to them that the front of that machine wants to slide downhill, and if it does, they basically have to go with that, and your line might change. You might be off that line where they painted 6 inches, a foot, or whatever else, until you can come back up. It's one of those things. If I start sliding down the hill, I go with it and create my own line, instead of trying to get that to go back uphill and then having to move 10 feet of curb back up the hill to match the line that's supposed to be there. It's a, you know, situation where they need to know what limitations the curb machine has, and you need to tell them what you can and cannot do. If you tell them and explain to them, they'll understand. Homeowner, they're going to say, yeah, no problem, you know, you just do the best you can, and so on. Sometimes landscapers get a little testy and they think, you know, you can work magic and you can, you know, because they've seen you do other things or whatever else, that, you know, they take you for granted and want you to do, you know, all these other impossible feats. For us, sometimes they put us in situations because they know that we have a pile driver and we can take, you know, concrete 150 yards up a hill into a back of somebody's house and not have any problem. That still doesn't mean that you shouldn't charge more for that, because they can't assume that you're going to have one of those machines. Okay, so everything is worth money. You just kind of need to you know, be upfront and explain to people, and it seems to be a lot easier. Pretty happy with the way this turned out. We're done for the day.